Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jedi Eternal, episode 61.
Woo, woo.
We are, yes, it's real. You really do hear us.
We actually are doing a podcast.
This is not fake. You're not in a dream. This is reality. It is me, Andrew Bolin, your co-host, alongside the beautiful, genius, intelligent,
wow.
slightly tall.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be thinking too hard.
Also has no couch in his house.
Whoa.
No furniture at all because
Okay.
he spent all of it on a 70-inch TV.
Slander. Okay.
Braxton Taylor.
This is slander. You can't lead in with stuff like that and then lie about me.
Okay, so hold on. I need to tell you a story because
A story. Yeah.
So the other day, I heard someone talking about you. Okay, like I wasn't in this conversation.
Talking about me. Okay.
I was not in this conversation.
Interesting.
I heard it. I do not remember who it was. I really don't. But but I heard this conversation happening amongst at least two people, maybe three people, and they were talking about you. And I heard them say, "Yeah," and he doesn't even.
Well, okay. Well, go ahead. Finish what you're gonna say.
He doesn't even have a couch
my
because
God.
he bought
This
a
is slander,
70-inch
people.
TV.
This is slander. See what I'm saying? Andrew knows that that's not true. Okay,
And
other people don't know that.
Well, so then I go up and I said, "Oh, whoa!" I see you talking about Braxton. They're like, yeah. I was like, he does have furniture. And they go,
fully furnished.
They've been listening to our podcast, and so they just took it as fact.
Oh my gosh. Good grief.
And so
once and for all, people, I actually do have furniture in my apartment.
Yeah, to clear the air.
Grief.
I'm only kidding. Braxton does have furniture. Now, could it be nicer furniture? Probably if he hadn't bought a 70-inch TV.
He wouldn't know.
But that's true.
You wouldn't know.
Someone hasn't invited me over.
Do you need an invite? Do you really need an invite?
Well, I guess you text me. You text me and said, "Hey, can I come in? Can I just come straight inside?"
Mm-hmm. Because I don't just walk into people's house. You just coming over.
I mean, you act like we haven't.
You have a family. The difference is you have a family. I'm just by myself.
Okay.
Hey, that's a good point. You know that's a good point.
I mean, I guess.
Okay, so let's move on.
My wife would probably agree with you, but
yeah, she would agree with you. Yeah.
So
let's move on.
Okay. Well, I have one more thing I need to tell you.
Okay. Oh, good lord.
So
okay.
Listen, there's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, apparently.
I've been waiting to tell you this on our podcast. This is big news, everyone. So buckle up, put on your seatbelts, grab someone you love, hold on tight, okay?
Oh, darling, please.
I work with George Lucas.
Huh?
Yes, I work with George Lucas.
Okay.
I figured you'd be a little more surprised.
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
No, So I have come to the conclusion that George Lucas, he lived such a crazy lifestyle. Everyone knew him, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So now he lives in Indiana,
random Midwestern state.
Just at a random, place, doing a random job.
Mm-hmm.
George Lucas works with me.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible.
No, now when I say this, it's the exact body type. It's the exact jeans you would expect from George Lucas.
Naturally.
It's the tucked in plaid shirt
yes.
into dad jeans with the white tennis shoes.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding. It's the full thing. It's like I said, the
full
body
kit
type.
Caboodle.
It's the hair. It's the beard.
Really?
It is George Lucas.
Honestly, he might be actually George Lucas. So
where's my phone?
He's right there. Yeah.
See, this is when I wish we had video for our podcast because
so people could see
I really
this live.
So okay, so yes, I did sneak a picture of him as he was.
Well, that's illegal, but okay.
Wait, hold on a second. This is from my car.
This is like smeared against his window.
This is from my car, just a back view of him, but
I can't see it. Oh wow! Okay,
I'm telling you, dude.
It's like if George Lucas, Bob Ross, and Santa were all the same person.
George Lucas, man, I'm telling you, even. No, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. So I just wanted to update everyone on that. I work with George Lucas. If you guys send me $100, I will try to get an autograph for you. Just send me the $100 first. You can PayPal me, and then we'll figure it out after that. Yes, I'm trying to scam you. Okay. Anyways, everyone, we're back.
We're back.
The energy is high.
Apparently.
Excited to be back on the podcast. It's been way too long.
Yeah.
We are so. What's funny is we're like saying we're back and everything, but we will not be having a podcast next week.
Well, don't say it like that. Don't say it like that. Okay. So, yeah, let me say this. You're saying it, make it sound bad. So, what we're doing now is we're actually going into kind of a new, not era, but maybe you can say a new era of Jedi Eternal. Obviously in the past we've only done strictly podcasts, right? It's just us. It's just podcasts. And every once in a great while, we'll sprinkle in some type of live stream, or sprinkle in some type of possibly a gaming type thing. And as of recently, we've had a lot of good feedback. People saying, "Hey, we want you to do some gaming. We would love to see that." So we've been looking into doing it. We've gotten some new equipment. Long story short, we thought, hey, instead of beating the dead horse, so to speak, and just doing a podcast every single week, there's sometimes, and we've explained this on that video we had on Facebook, so if you haven't seen it yet, go back and check it out. But as we said in that video, it's one of those things where not every week, there's maybe not a ton of stuff, right? There's maybe not a ton of things to talk about, or maybe that week, we've just had a little content, or sometimes we just don't feel like or whatever, right? Whatever's going on. But what we've thought is, hey, here's something fresh and something new is these Let's Play episodes, and a lot of people have seemed to like them. Now, there hasn't been a ton of people watching them as of yet. It's been growing a little bit, so we encourage you to go watch it if you haven't. But it's been really fun. The second episode is super fun. It's way better than the first one. Long story short, my point is that this is kind of a new thing that we're doing, and we thought, hey, let's mix it up a little bit, and we'll do every other week we're going to do a podcast, and then every other week we're going to do a Let's Play episode. So...
yeah, there's one issue with that.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be able to do a Let's Play episode next week. That's what I was getting at.
Oh, okay. Well, so I was going to say, you're making it sound bad. Well, it actually is bad.
Yeah, it is bad. No, that's what I was saying. Because I'm going to be gone next week, and we don't have time to do it tonight.
Oh, my gosh. You didn't tell me stuff until I'm on air. Wow. Good grief.
Well, so we can discuss later. We might be able to make it work. But it'll just have to be on we'll talk about it later.
I'm just saying, if anybody wants to put boo in the comments towards Andrew, this is his fault. So just be
normally
aware of that.
it's your fault.
Not really.
Okay, so
anyway.
Moving on, let's get it into our regularly scheduled program.
All right, program.
We're gonna jump right into some news, and this is some interesting news for you. As many of you know, we have the Star Wars Visions coming to Disney Plus not long from now. It'll be here before you know it. And with that is coming a novel that's going to focus on, based off or continue one of those stories called Ronin. So this is going to be coming into a reimagined Star Wars galaxy, okay? So this, something to understand with Star Wars Visions is we know that at least some of these will not be canon. And potentially... none of them will be canon.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten the thumbs up or thumbs down on this yet, which is kind of weird.
It's unfortunately we're not getting just definite answers on this, which I find slightly frustrating. Yeah, or more than slightly frustrating because they know fans will want the answer to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing: if you're like, oh, they're gonna be disappointed that it's not canon, just at least rip the Band-Aid off and tell us, right? So we can go into it already expecting. What we're going to be expecting, right?
But this novel is going to be coming out October 12th, and it will expand on the world of The Duel, which is one of the episodes from Visions, telling the story of a former unnamed Sith, known only as Ronin, a wandering samurai, as he travels the galaxy. And according to James Wall of the Lucasfilm Story Group, an executive producer of Star Wars Visions, there was just too much left to explore in the creative producer's vision to stop with one tale. Out of all the shorts, The Duel felt most right for an ongoing story in a novel.
Interesting.
And so there's a couple things that I have been thinking about with this. One of those is they're pretty, like, this one is one of those stories that you can tell it's not canon, okay?
Right.
One of the big things here being this is one of the things they say about it. The Jedi are the most loyal servants of the Empire.
Okay.
So 2 decades ago, Jedi clans clashed in service to feuding lords. Sickened by this endless cycle, a sect of Jedi rebelled, seeking to control their own destiny and claim power in service of no master. They called themselves Sith. The Sith rebellion failed, succumbing to infighting and betrayal, and the once rival lords unified to create an empire. But even an empire at peace is not free from violence. It goes on to basically it's clear that this is some like just spin-off of
well, I'll say basically this is a manga type thing, right? And it's Japanese influence, so it's definitely, you know, like the samurai served the shogunate, and they're kind of making the samurai like the Jedi.
Yeah,
that's kind of what they're doing.
So it's. But this is what also is very interesting to me, and this is just thinking about Star Wars bigger picture. We've been talking about Star Wars Legends a lot, like just legends of books, things that have been kind of making a reappearance lately. A lot of republishings they've been doing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is not a canon novel.
Right.
That is new.
Right, so this is like the first time that Disney's ever made something that is clearly not canon.
Yeah, this is the first big thing we've gotten since Disney. Now you could say like Lego and stuff, but like
that's kind of understood. Like,
right,
you know,
this is the first really big one we're getting. This is going to be an adult novel published by Del Rey.
Yeah.
That is going to be Legends content.
And hey, this one has pictures, so I'll probably read this one.
I don't know that it has pictures.
I thought you said it was a graphic novel.
No, it's a novel.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah, no, you won't be reading it. No,
There
is a graphic novel coming.
Okay.
There is a graphic novel coming that is like a manga or whatever. That's good, or manga. I don't know how you say it, but that's going to be the High Republic. The High Republic story. Yeah. That's what you're thinking of.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of disappointing, honestly, but never mind.
No, this is a novel, and specifically it says Star Wars Ronin, a Visions novel.
Okay.
And so I saw a Twitter feed between the lore master, I think is his name on Twitter. We're not speaking
not
about
the actual lore master.
Yeah, we're talking about a fake lore master.
Yeah, fake.
And then between him and Matt Martin from, is that his name? Matt Martin? Yeah.
Sounds right.
From Star Wars Story Group.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Right? Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I saw kind of like a thing going back and forth, and I was kind of with Star Wars lore master. He was saying like, hey, why aren't you just telling us, like, is this stuff canon or not canon?
Yeah.
And he's like, why are you like, why is the mystery behind it? Like, just tell us which ones are canon, which ones aren't canon. And he's like, why? He's like, if they're not, like, why don't you just put the Legends title on them, right? He was kind of, I totally agree with his perspective on it. But Matt Martin kind of had an interesting comment back. First of all, he's kind of toying with them for a while, which was a little like, come on, dude.
Yeah, just say it.
but then he ended up saying, well, what else does the Star Wars Visions mean? And so kind of implying that by them saying a Visions novel, they're implying that's not canon.
That's the new Legends title, basically.
Maybe.
Yeah, that I can see that. Yeah.
But right now, of course, Visions is just pointed towards this like stylization of Star Wars. So I don't know. Maybe it's going to be one now. Maybe it's going to be included with Legends. Like there's Legends novels. There's Visions novels. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just something to be thinking about.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
If you want to lead us into the next part here, it's kind of going along with the same.
I was gonna say we have this next one that kind of is on the same page here, so to speak. But basically, we've received some more info. Excuse me, something caught my throat. Anyway, we've received some more info in regards to Star Wars Visions in terms of the actual like episodes that we're going to be getting. And what's interesting is it's going to be coming out in September, and one of the episodes is actually going to be set in after episode 9. Rise of Skywalker, which is very interesting because other than that Lego movie, Rey's next big steps, this will be the first thing that we see in an actual animation or an actual story after episode 9. So that's interesting. But as you've already stated, multiple times now, this may or may not be canon. So it's definitely something interesting to think about. This will be our very first look into what's happening after Rise of Skywalker, after the first and technically what final order has been toppled and whatnot. So it's definitely going to be interesting, but it is also interesting to think that this may not be canon.
Yeah, so the director for this episode, specifically, he said, I wondered after episode 9, has the galaxy settled into peace? And that is what drove his story, was that question. And he said, we all love stories of the Jedi and lightsabers, but what became of the Jedi Knights after the movie series? He says, my story is about that.
Interesting.
Which is a great concept. I'm very curious to see what he comes up with for that. My gut instinct here is that this will not be canon.
Yeah.
Again, because I don't think that this is how they want to show the future of the Jedi, right? Like
this is like the next step in the saga, and they're going to relegate it to some one tiny episode of a Visions cartoon animation that is not even being done by LucasArts, it's by an outside,
It's almost as bad as when we thought that the Lego Holiday Special could potentially be canon.
I mean, yeah. I would rather have this canon than the Lego Special, but yeah, I mean, it's still the same issue. It's still the same issue. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm still leaning on this not being canon, but it would be an interesting choice for this to end up being a part of the Star Wars canon.
Which, I mean, don't ever think that Disney's not willing to take interesting choices. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, but I think there's got to be something in this that must be canon, because why else would they not just say none of these are canon?
Right. Why wouldn't they just rip off the band and just say, hey, this is just...
And as far as I know, that has not been just flat out said.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. So, yeah, I don't know. We're not lingering on too much on this, but yeah, just keep your eyes and ears open. Like I said, it's coming in September. We're getting our Visions episodes. I'm not sure. I'm assuming Ronan will probably follow after that very quickly, after that episode is out with the duel. But anyway, so let's move on to our final and third news piece.
Yeah, so there's going to be a special episode of Disney Gallery The Mandalorian, exploring the Season 2 finale. And this is going to be released on August 25th on Disney+. I'm personally very excited for this because that was kind of our big question after we watched Disney Gallery. We both kind of had the complaint of, why didn't they talk about Luke Skywalker coming back? You know, why didn't they talk about bringing Mark Hamill and that whole process? Like, that was the most interesting aspect of the making of Season 2. Clearly, I think they wanted to wait a while before they did this, but now we're finally getting that. We're finally going to kind of see that whole process, and I think it's going to probably be very interesting. I encourage you all to check that out when it comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, August 25th, so just a little over a month away.
Yeah. So another last thing I'll say on that is just like, that was definitely one thing you basically already said it, but, it was like watching this, we're like, come on, this is one of the main things that we actually want to know about and how they did this and what their thought process was and how they did, so not to belabor the point, but yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting to see their comments on that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's jump into our rumors. Our first rumor for today is we may have possibly gotten a release date window for Season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Interesting.
So there was a listing, and this was from a marketing platform, and it was showing some different things, and through some sleuthing, some people have found that there is some information out there saying that the Book of Boba Fett premieres, of course, on December 2021, but that Season 3 of The Mandalorian would premiere in spring 2022.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for me, I felt like that was kind of what was originally talked about anyway, and then we kind of got away from that. So now that we're getting rumors that is the possible leaked date or whatever, I mean, I could see that being plausible. Now, of course, when they say spring, you never know when that actually means. Late spring, mid spring, early spring. Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I personally don't think we're seeing this in the spring. Maybe this is old information. Maybe this was, as you said, we had heard some things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is still the case.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like it's such a big thing that to only have it just a few months after such another big thing, I do think it almost like it would almost take the breath or the momentum out of one or the other, So I could definitely see that. But I mean, again, depending on how many months though, if it's like, okay, it releases in December, but this one's coming out in like late May, early June, I could see it. I mean, I could see it. I'm not saying it will do that, but I could technically see it.
I think the biggest thing against it though is that as far as we know, production has not even started. And if they're going to get this out by spring, production should probably have already started at this point.
That's true.
And
unless we haven't heard about it. You know what I'm saying? They haven't really announced it that much.
Well, and that's a possibility, but they have stated it's not started and that they, as far as we can tell, maybe just finished up Book of Boba Fett, right?
Right.
And we know for a fact they weren't going to start working on it till the Book of Boba Fett was wrapped, because of using a lot of the same stage and technology. And we know that Kenobi's kind of held it up as well, because Kenobi is utilizing some of that same stuff too.
Yeah.
And we know Kenobi is not finished. Kenobi is still, I would assume Kenobi's getting close, but we know that it's still currently going on.
Well under production, yeah.
So that tells me Mandalorian Season 3, just through logic, would be still quite a bit away unless we just don't have the right information.
Yeah, true.
I mean, trust me, I would love for it to be available by spring. I mean,
well, and another
I would be
thing,
overjoyed, but I just don't see it.
Well, here's one thing you have to consider as well is that it seems like for the past few years in a row now, there has been something fairly big released on or around May 4th, Star Wars Day. So
that's true.
I think we did have some idea that Bad Batch was going to be around that time. So as of right now, I mean, the only thing we even have any assumption of being released around that time would be Mando Season 3. Well, possibly Cassian, though.
I was about to say.
Possibly Cassian.
Could be Andor.
Yeah. Andor, whatever. Whatever it's called.
Andor's been in the process for a long time now.
Very long time.
We've been hearing about Andor forever.
It was the first thing that we even heard about ever.
So Andor might be that perfect thing to release in that time slot of May the 4th.
And then because here's the thing, everybody can't argue with the fact that Andor does not have the hype of Mandalorian Season 3. I mean, not to say it's going to be a bad show. I'm not going to say anything like that. I'm actually very much looking forward to watching it and being proven wrong on that, But the fact of the matter is that it doesn't, right? So as I said earlier, if you release Book of Boba Fett and then Mandalorian Season 3, it could take the momentum out of one or the other. So yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. Is that we have Book of Boba Fett in December of this year. We have Andor in mid to late spring of 2022, and then probably around the fall, or maybe even get closer to that December date again of 2022, we see Mandalorian Season 3. So very well could be. All right, so we talked about some of these shows being mentioned. We, of course, talk about Kenobi, and we actually have another rumor about Kenobi series. So those of you who are familiar with Sung Kang, he is an actor that was in, I believe, in the Fast and Furious movies. Great actor, but he's actually going to be in the Kenobi series, and he actually had talked about being on the set of Kenobi, and he had some very interesting details. But kind of the biggest thing that he mentioned, which I thought was kind of stood out and was really cool, was that he mentioned Darth Vader and Jedis, plural.
Yeah, Jedis being the big thing there.
Yeah.
I mean, we assumed Darth Vader would be in it, right? Actually,
we've been not assume. We already know. Yeah, at this point.
But Jedi is interesting, and we could potentially be looking into it a little too much.
Yeah.
He could just be saying, He could just be using that plural for really no reason, and other than the fact that Obi-Wan Kenobi's in it.
Or that, or we could also see flashbacks and we see Jedis. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe not like be Jedis in the present time.
Yeah, there's definitely different ways to look at that, but no matter what, the fact that we in this series we're getting Darth Vader and Jedis is just exciting in general. There's not that much more to say about it, other than like I'm just so ready for it.
Yeah, I'm so pumped for this series.
I can't not wait for this. I cannot wait for them to tell us when this baby is going to come out.
That'll be such a huge release.
It's going to be to be a major day of celebration. That's for sure. But moving on to our last rumor, and actually this kind of has some credibility to it as well. But there's some rumor stuff to talk about it in it too. Tamir Morrison has kind of turned into the new oh man, I just forgot his name. Esposito. He's kind of turned into the new Esposito, and like he's
leaking
just like,
every 2 seconds.
Yeah, like he's constantly like talking about stuff.
He had to get that checked out. Leaking every 2 seconds.
And so, anyways, he was talking to Rotten Tomatoes, and he was speaking to the Daily Express and Rotten Tomatoes, I believe. Some of this is coming from different sources here, but he was saying that that Jon Favreau has got some great directors on board, including Robert Rodriguez, Favreau, Bryce Dallas Howard, Dave Filoni. So now I hold a little hesitation here because, and this is why I'm kind of including it in rumors, because maybe he was referring to The Mandalorian. There's nothing there that necessarily states that he has to be talking about his own personal series there.
Sure. Yeah.
And so but would it surprise me if we have some of the same directors? No. Because we already know this is kind of carrying along that same creative team with Favreau and Dave Filoni. So it would make sense that we potentially see some more of those people in this.
Right.
So, and Robert Rodriguez would make a lot of sense because he directed arguably the best episode with Boba Fett in it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, it would definitely make sense to kind of keep that continuity and at least start with him or at least pay homage to him, introducing him by giving him at least one episode.
Yeah. And some other little things just to think about. He also said, we've got to look at the timeline. We got to look at where Boba has been. We got to keep the fans happy. So that's one thing. One thing he said. He also said they asked him about a possibility of a season 2. He said, I think they'll have to consider some things. The tree is still growing. They'll probably want to test the waters first. There's been no talk about it.
Yeah.
I think there's been no talk about it is the biggest bunch of baloney I've ever heard.
Yeah,
you know they're talking about it.
Come on, yeah.
Now, doesn't mean they've necessarily committed, but the fact that we have seen crew gifts specifically say season 1 tells me there's a very big chance we're getting a season 2 of this.
Yeah, when we've talked about that in previous episodes in our rumors, how, like I said, it mentions season 1, whatever. Like, we said it before, but like, if it says season 1, like, why would it just say season? Why would it even say season anything, right? If there's only one season.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah.
And the last thing is he says that the Book of Boba Fett will essentially be a buddy series between Boba and Fennec.
Yeah,
so
that's cool. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
I mean, you could see that. It's kind of interesting to me because Boba Fett always seems like someone who actually kind of works alone.
Yeah, the loner type for sure.
And so it's interesting that he's kind of creating this team / bond with the character of Fennec.
It's kind of like this character development, him coming out of like the Empire days where he was this loner and he just was like evil, did anything.
True, yeah.
But now we see him in Mando. He's got a conscience now,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
could be a character development.
Good point. So lots of exciting things. That is our final rumor. Lots of interesting stuff in the works. If you guys have anything specific you would like to tell us about what we've discussed in our news and rumors, please leave it in the comments. Leave it in the comments. Folks. Also, you can always, direct message us on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook. We will, of course, get back to you on anything that you have to say about Star Wars.
Anything.
But let's jump into our releases. And we've got it's a big week for comics. We have War of the Bounty Hunters, Jabba the Hutt. This is going to be just a one-issue comic. Focuses on Jabba the Hutt's perspective on what is currently going on in War of the Bounty Hunters. We also have Darth Vader issue number 14, which is also still, of course, dealing with War of the Bounty Hunters. And we have Star Wars Adventures issue number 7 and the High Republic Adventures number 6.
Man.
So lots of comics. Now, I will say the adventure comics, don't count on them actually coming out. They get pushed back all the time. I have no idea why, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But hey, the comics are golden. Really great stuff going on with War of the Bounty Hunters. I highly encourage you guys to check those out. I know that this High Republic Adventures issue 6 is starting a new arc that will be taking place very close to time of the Republic Fair, which is what is currently going on in phase 2 of the High Republic as a whole. So this is kind of them officially getting to that point, which is a year later after the first phase. Yeah. So if for those of you who may be like kind of wanting to know some stuff but aren't really like fully getting on board here, phase 2 I can confirm is a year later after the first phase of the High Republic.
Cool.
So, and then we have the next episode of the Bad Batch. This is episode 13, getting close to wrapping up.
Yeah,
we're not
3
far
more
away
weeks after that.
So let's see how if they can kind of stick the landing here.
Yeah.
See if they can really suck us in, get us invested in these last couple episodes. I would love to see this be a 3-part arc.
Yeah,
that's like very
big hitters.
Big hitters,
big lore stuff.
Let's see some really big stuff happen. Make it a big as in my opinion, the arcs of Clone Wars were always the best.
Sure.
And the Bad Batch has been doing a lot of 1 episodes up until just recently we got a 2-parter. I would love to see this be a 3-parter, but I am very doubtful of that. I would say this is going to be probably another like one-off episode, and then we might get a 2-part finale. Yeah. That would be probably more what I assume will happen, but we will find out soon enough.
See. Yeah.
We will definitely be talking about that as soon as we can. But let's I think we're ready to go into our Q&A.
Yes, we are. So let's go ahead and do our Q&A as we do every week. We like to ask you all to ask us questions and bring up topics. So whatever you want us to talk about, we want to talk about it, right? If you have anything that's piqued your interest over the last couple weeks, or you have a question about something about the lore or whatever it may be, we want to discuss it. We want to answer it or whatever. So again, you all have been very gracious to give us some questions this week, and we're so very thankful for that. Our first question for the week comes from the infamous Kristen Perry, who is very faithful to give us something. We're appreciative of that, Kristen.
Very much appreciate it. Honestly, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it that she does it.
Seriously.
It means the world to us.
If nobody else does it, Kristen will.
And I cannot thank her enough.
Yes, absolutely. So thankful for that. So she asked, could it be possible to have a double-bladed lightsaber with 2 different colors, so 1 color coming out of each side? So I have some thoughts, but Drew, what do you think? Do you think it's possible to have a dual-colored dual lightsaber?
So I do think it's possible. I think you would have to craft the lightsaber in a certain way. You would essentially have to build 2 lightsabers, right? Because the way that the blade or the way the crystal works in a lightsaber, like you could not use the same crystal and get 2 different colors.
Sure. Yeah.
You would have to build essentially 2 lightsabers and then combine it in the center. And so like it would have to be like closed ended on the ends and then attached
in,
and then technically you could have 2 different colors.
Absolutely. I'm in complete agreement with that. And here's the thing, we see this sort of to some example a couple different times. So first of all, in the High Republic era, we see Keeve Trennis. They have a lightsaber, double-bladed lightsaber, if I can speak today, that comes apart. So that right there shows that he has 2.
Or she.
Or excuse me, she, yes. She has 2
Yeah, but her lightsabers are the same color.
Well, but my point is that there is
saying,
two
right.
kyber crystals. So theoretically,
there
could be two different ones. Also, we see, here's the thing, we also see in Jedi Fallen Order, we see Jar Tapal's, he had a double-bladed lightsaber that gets cut in half and it still works on one side. So clearly there was two kyber crystals. And I would say nominally, most double-bladeds probably do have two kyber crystals. So to kind of wrap up that question, depends on how it's designed, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I mean, I would say if you put two of them in there of differing colors, I don't see why not. So yeah, let's move on. Great question. Thank you. Our second question comes from another faithful follower here, which is Brandon Dukes. Again, Brandon, thank you so much for continually participating, and we really appreciate that. Brandon Duke asks, what are the name of the two sons on Tatooine? And I did not know this off the top of my head, so I looked it up. And it is just simple enough as it's Tattoo 1 and Tattoo 2. So those are the names of the two sons. Those beautiful scene that we see with Luke looking off to the dual sunset. He is looking at Tattoo 1 and Tattoo 2. And there's actually some pretty interesting legends, stories behind that and why they got their names. And, I know that, and I don't know the exact story off the top of my head, and I wish I did. But basically, I know that there was is either Sith twins that was from Tatooine, they're Twi'lek, I guess, or they were bounty hunter twins. I don't remember, but they used lightsabers, so I imagine they were Sith. And they used what's called like the twin sun technique, and so that was one thing that kind of contributed to I guess the twin suns part of it. But the Tattoo 1 and Tattoo 2, I know it's called the Tattoo system, and Tatooine's a part of it as the planet. So anyway, kind of beating around the bush, but Drew, do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's a cool thing to know, though, right? Like the names. It's pretty simple, easy to remember. Tattoo 1, Tattoo 2.
If you're ever in like some kind of trivia, that'll probably come up. So.
It very well may someday. Or you're watching. Maybe you're trying to impress a girl.
That's not gonna do it. But I was gonna. I ain't gonna do it, but you can try.
You're gonna go.
It's just like watching Lord of the Rings. Hey, did you know Viggo Mortensen broke two of his toes when he kicked that helmet? It doesn't impress anybody, but you always got to say it.
I mean, you're definitely gonna go home alone, but hey, but
you will go home proud knowing that you know that information. Anyway, so let's move on. So our third and final question from the week, for the weeks, comes from Ava Patton. Again, another awesome question giver. Ava, you always have something good to say, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Yes, absolutely.
So our final question to cap off the week comes from Ava. She says, I just finished playing Fallen Order. Great game. And she says, I was wondering, does Seer technically have the authority to knight Cal as a Jedi Knight? And since in the beginning of the game, she had said she's not a Jedi anymore. So I have some thoughts here, and Drew, I'll toss it over to you. But, ultimately, at the end of the day, if we're talking technicality, Seer was and is still a Jedi Master. At the very least, she was a Jedi Master. And theoretically, yes, you can kind of toss that away. You can say that you're not that, you don't want to participate, but at the end of the day, you're still, look at Ahsoka, right? She was still a Jedi, even though she denounced the Jedi, right? So I don't think that you can take away Seer's, Jedi Master rank, even though she walked away from it. But here's the thing. The prerequisite for someone to be knighted as a Jedi Knight was just simply to pass the Jedi Knight trials, and that a Jedi Master would, that or the council would acknowledge that they passed these trials, and hey, you're a knight now. So I'd imagine after all of the things that Cal Kestis went throughout this game, throughout his journey, and along with Seer and her seeing all of this, someone who was a Jedi Master could probably make that determination. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, this is the way I look at it. For me, it was more of a symbolic thing. It was more of a ceremonial thing rather than an actual knighthood. Because at the end of the day, the Jedi Order was no longer existent, right? The Jedi Order was no longer real, so it didn't matter if you called them a Jedi Master at that point, because, at the end of the day, there was no Jedi to verify that, to not verify that. people might get mad at that, but you see my point. So at the end of the day, I think Seer knighting Cal was just kind of more of a symbolic, emotional attachment type thing of like, hey, you never got the chance to do this, and I, as a Jedi Master in my previous life, will kind of ceremoniously knight you. So anyway, Drew, do you have anything to go along with that?
I mean, you pretty much answered it, but yeah, the thing to take away here is that the Jedi Order's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So there are no rules anymore on how this stuff works. For the most part, most of the Jedi are gone. This is a rare occurrence of where a Jedi Master has found an apprentice and they're working together during this time period. It's one of very, very, very few instances we know of.
Right.
And so it's a unique relationship there. It's during a unique time. And so, I mean, thinking from a canon perspective, like, there's no one better really to even consider giving someone a rank of a Jedi Knight or whatever, right? Like, she's one of the best out there to give such a thing. I mean,
someone who's a Jedi Master should know more than anybody as to whether or not someone is worthy of being a knight. And here's the thing, wow, it just completely lost my train of thought.
But even the titles of Jedi Knight, Jedi Master don't really matter at this point.
It doesn't, yeah.
All of that stuff was established because of the Jedi Order.
Yeah,
and how the way they ran things and how that things were organized. None of that matters anymore. It's all gone.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And
so.
that's, and it stays that way until in Legends, Luke decides to rebuild it and starts to restructure, and he even says, hey, you know what, I'm going to re-examine this and change some things, right? Because some things needed to be changed. And we don't know exactly how Luke does that in
actual canon.
In actual canon, we know he does try to start to rebuild, but we don't. One thing we don't know is, like, did he try to stick exactly to what the Jedi Order had done in the past, or did he try some of his own things that we're still a little unclear on? And I think we'll start to see more of that fill in as time goes on. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah. All right, so that will finish up our Q&A for the week. So Kristen, Brandon, Ava, we really appreciate y'all's questions. And again, anybody out there, I know it's kind of easy to just rely on everybody else's questions, but hey, we need all the weekend ones we can get, and we would love to see some new names on this list here.
Absolutely.
We have some of these faithful folks that always gives us stuff, and we're so incredibly thankful for that. But we would love to hear from anybody else that is out there. Always wanted to talk about something. Here's the thing: you may not have a question, but like maybe there's a subject matter that you would like us to talk about. We'll do it. So
yeah, just be like, hey, talk about this.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on this or whatever?
But let's jump into our main topic.
Yep.
And our main topic for this week is going to be discussing and reviewing the past couple episodes of Bad Batch. Specifically this current arc that we've been going through, which is episodes 11 and 12. Let's just kind of go straight into spoilers, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of like. I think you're gonna get obviously our impressions as we talk about it.
Yeah, so let's just kind of go straight into spoilers, Braxton, if you want to kind of lead us off.
Yeah, so obviously let's talk first about episode 11, obviously, and that is entitled "Devil's Deal." Like I said, I'm just gonna jump just 2 feet first. Okay, so what we see in this episode, it is slightly different than what we have seen in the past. And again, this is something that Drew and I had personally talked about. The episode started off kind of pretty cool. Like it was very different. It's more cinematic than we had seen, and it basically was on Ryloth, and we're basically the whole episode and whole arc is dealing with Ryloth coming under Imperial control. And of course we see Ornfree Ta, he's there. We see Hera's dad,
Cham
Syndulla. We see him there, and basically it's just this kind of like overturning of the power, so to speak, and people are really uneasy and etc. So I guess the whole point of this episode is that we're seeing this transition of power in Ryloth, and then I guess it's a good segue for us to see the Syndulla family. So yeah, pretty cool, right? We get to see Hera as a young kid. Again, I'm gonna pass this to you, Drew. But just my immediate thoughts of this episode is it was cool, but what's the purpose of this? What is your? So you go on.
So I have to say, for me, this is probably maybe one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Sure. Yeah.
And part of that is we get Hera, who is a very established character at this point, seen in all time periods of Star Wars.
Yeah.
She's from this point on until the time of the Rise of Skywalker. Like, she's in the story. She's a part of it.
Yeah.
And so she's an important character, and we see her. This is her earliest appearance, and we see that, like, they kind of play some familiar music, if some of you may have noticed.
Yes, that was very interesting.
It's very interesting that they chose to do that.
Yeah, and what if you're not sure what we're referring to? A lot of the times when they show Hera, for whatever reason, especially in episode 11, they start playing Leia's theme, which is very interesting to think about.
Yeah, very interesting, but also was nice. I actually liked that they did that, because you don't hear those songs very often in Clone Wars, Rebels.
Yeah, like those classic theme, cinematic pieces.
Yeah, so it was interesting they did that. And there was some slight variations, but, like, it was obviously supposed to be very close to that. So
yeah, absolutely.
So that was cool. But what I think this really was for me is it's like, okay, we had Clone Wars. Now we have, we already had Rebels. Now we have the Bad Batch, and the Bad Batch is set in between these two series.
Right.
And this is a unique thing, because this is establishing one of the most important characters in Rebels, but we're seeing it in Clone Wars animation.
Yeah, that was very cool.
And we're seeing kind of it bridge these two shows. It's just one of the examples of bridging these shows, right? And I think we're going to get more of that, especially with, like, Rex. And I think we're going to see more of Rex, and we're going to see how those kind of bridge into what we know of happens in Rebels. And so, and of course we have Chopper as well. And so I liked that. Now, when you look at the bigger picture of the Bad Batch, was this necessary in the Bad Batch story? No.
Right.
But what has been necessary in the Bad Batch story? Very little.
I guess that's kind of the whole point. Yeah.
And honestly, I was kind of thrilled that the Bad Batch really wasn't involved in this episode. And there was one instance where they come, and I'm like, oh, I was kind of bummed.
Yeah.
I was kind of almost hoping that they weren't in the episode at all.
So, and that's an interesting perspective, because it's like, at the end of the day, I mean, again, I kind of, when I said what I said a second ago, I probably said it a little too early, because you're like, oh, you didn't like the episode. No, I actually really liked both of these episodes. But again, my thought process is, for the storyline of the Bad Batch, what is the point of these episodes? What is this leading to? And obviously, to this point, we really don't know what it's leading to. But I guess what, again, what you're saying, which is so funny, is like, there's so many episodes of this series so far, as like, what is the point of these episodes? And the funny part is like, if I'm going to continue to get episodes of what's the point, I'm glad that we got something so substantial as seeing Hera and the Syndulas and the fall of Ryloth to the Empire, and some really cool stuff like that, So it is kind of sad that is our mindset, but it is what it is.
I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, it's like, oh, it's really raining out there.
Yeah, it's pouring rain. It has been pouring rain all day today.
It's like, if we're not going to get substantial things out of this show, then we might as well get some good crossovers into things we already know. But it's connective tissue there, right? Like, this show, if it doesn't do anything else, at least maybe it'll bridge some stuff between Clone Wars and Rebels.
And that's kind of what happened. So very, 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 very quickly, just to kind of give the context of these episodes, I'm sure you already watched them, but obviously, there's some struggles. We see it in the Clone Wars, and we see it in Rebels. Cham is a freedom fighter, so the fighter to the end. He does not like the idea of turning over control to anyone other than the Twi'leks, to Ryloth. So to make a long story short, he's having some trouble with this, and he's actually pretty diplomatic with it in episode 11. But then eventually Orn Free Taa, Senator Orn Free Taa is like just classical, Orn Free Taa. He's just so stupid and just kowtows to whoever the biggest power is. And ultimately, the Empire uses that to frame Cham Syndulla by sniping Orn Free Taa in his head and killing him, which is how that I didn't realize. I mean, it's actually kind of a just end to Orn Free Taa, but anyway. And then obviously episode 12 we see Hera reaching out to the Bad Batch and trying to work with them and Chopper and all them to rescue them. And of course we see that. We can get more into that in a second. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even at the end of these episodes, it's kind of like they go their separate ways, and it's like, what did that lead to exactly? Yeah. It was just, I mean, it was cool to see Hera as a kid, but like, I don't really feel like it gave anything. Now, one thing that you and I had talked about is perhaps maybe in the future we see something with Omega and Hera, and it was good to set up that relationship.
Yeah, and so that's something that is very, very possible, right?
Yeah.
So we've already heard some rumors that there is that hail?
It might be hailing.
It's like really storming out there. So you guys might even be able to hear that. I don't know, but it stopped. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just really hard rain.
Okay. Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying. That totally threw me off.
We was talking about the relationship between Omega and Hera, possibly. Yeah.
So Hera, we've heard rumors of her maybe showing up in this same time period as the Mandalorian is right now. It would make a lot of sense if for her to show up. It would kind of be like the next step in her story anyway. We've gotten a little bit of her story and some other things, but like we really don't know where it goes. And so this could be a way of progressing that even further. Yeah. And the Alphabet Squadron novels did some of that, but this could really, really do it.
Sure.
And it would have some connective tissue there with Ahsoka and Thrawn, and we assume Ezra is probably showing back up. So it just makes sense for her to come back, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And now we also have Boba Fett. And we know that Omega is basically Boba
sisters.
Fett's
They're
sister.
brothers,
Yeah, they're sisters. Yeah.
They're sisters. I'm sorry, Samira.
And so it's like really doing something out there.
I'm sorry, guys. It's really distracting. It is like monsooning against his window right now. Anyway.
So anyway, so you put all of those things together, and I can't help but feel like this scene of them meeting and Omega like, hey, come in the ship and I'll show you like where my room is.
Well,
is the beginning of something.
Yeah, and at the end of season 12 or episode 12, we see Hera saying, "Oh, Omega just taught me how to jam a ship's scanners and all stuff like that." It's kind of cool because it like gives homage to like Hera is this like crazy good, one of the best pilots. That's what they're trying to allude to, and she can do all these crazy things for the Resistance or the for the Rebellion and the Resistance ultimately. But it's kind of cool to give the homage that Omega was kind of the first person to kind of teach her at least something.
Right.
Kind of interesting. So, let's kind of like move on just a hair here. So looking to episode 12, like I said, basically it's them rescuing the Syndulla parents. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me for this episode was actually nothing to do with Bad Batch and nothing to do with Hera and the Syndullas. For me, it was actually how cool Clone Commander Hauser was, and how actually we see ultimately, unlike not all of them, obviously, as we can see, but unlike most of the clones, Hauser is like, wait a second, what is going on here? He's questioning the Empire all of a sudden. Unlike, so my question is like, is his chip malfunctioning? Is his emotions overpowering it? Was it really weak as
there's
some of them were? Yeah. So point is that ultimately we see him give up arms at the end and say, I'm not doing this any longer. I'm not fighting for the Empire if they're going to be doing this junk of enslaving free people and stuff. So, some of the other clones step down with him, which is actually another interesting point. But my takeaway for this was, could this be why the Empire ends up having to take away the clones? Other than them getting too old, could it be because, instead of them being these loyal creatures that they use, they start breaking out of it a little bit, and hey, what's going on?
So that is possible. We also know, they're running out of Django's DNA, right?
Yeah.
Like and that's kind of why they want Omega.
Why I make it so
back,
important?
Right? So,
Yeah.
so we know that's also kind of a part of the issue going on. But yeah, it could be some of also that, like maybe some of the clones start to kind of wake up from this, right? Who's to say this chip or the order 66 lasts forever? There is a I'm not sure how to say it, but like maybe it's not permanent.
Well, here's the thing: clones have accelerated aging, and we know that this chip is kind of organic, so maybe this ages and fails as well. At some point, you know, never know.
And they never truly answer what was going on with him, like,
right?
Whether that something was going on with this chip, or was it something like he just really cared about these people and didn't. Or was it also maybe because there were no Jedi directly involved, and so he was able to kind of, but we know, like with what's his name, the guy who went traitor. What is his name? Out of the Bad Batch.
Sniper guy.
Yeah, sniper guy.
Good grief, Crosshair. Yeah,
Crosshair. For him it was all about following orders, right? And so even like, it didn't have to even be about the Jedi. Like, he just went like crazy. So
I think it also kind of depends on how you define Order 66. I know that in my interpretation, I know Drew and I was having maybe a little bit different. We wasn't really sure what it was, but my interpretation was that Order 66 was you will be completely loyal to the Republic, who ends up becoming the Empire. And basically the reason they're so adamant against the Jedi is because the Jedi were traitors to the Republic, at least in the eyes of the clones now through Order 66. So that's the thing. If you interpret it as, they're just against the Jedi, so they can just walk away later on. But if it's them being completely loyal to the Republic, who becomes the Empire, then it really is kind of confusing how Hauser and ultimately these just random clones that was underneath him in his squadron walk away like that. Because here's the thing, Hauser, like you said, Hauser is very much connected to the Syndulas. He's very much connected to this, and he has emotional connection. But do the other clones that's under him have that same connection? So, interesting. Food for thought there.
So, I think you have to look at it this way. Order 66 was to identify that the Jedi were traitors. Like, that was the order, that to execute all Jedis because they were traitors. But that being said, that was Order 66, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the only thing that happened there, because the chip itself, they activated something in their brains, right?
It's meant for compliance.
And so, exactly. So just because Order 66 meant the execution of all Jedi doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only thing that happened with their chip. Yeah. Because it did become like a compliance thing, right? Like, it almost
as we see
like
through Crosshair.
Yeah. And so I think that they kind of almost have to be slightly separated. Order 66 isn't just the activation of the chip. It was literally the order that was given because once their chip was activated, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
At least that's the way I interpret it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, it's 6 to 1, half dozen the other. We don't have those clear answers on exactly what it means or exactly what the purpose was. And I think, again, that's part of Star Wars, is if we don't have all the answers, that kind of leaves some of the magic. But I just kind of hope that we see more of Hauser. And in fact, I think we will. The reason I say that is because at the end they're arresting them, but then Crosshair's looking at him, but it has kind of an odd look to him. So that could just be like Crosshair coming out of it a little bit. Or there's going to be something more. He's going to go confront Hauser and maybe try to kill him or something. I don't know. So
yeah. So overall, for me, I enjoyed the first episode more than the second episode, because the second episode, of course, just kind of the Bad Batch was back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it fell more into a common theme, I guess, like with they're it's just felt kind of more generic.
Yeah.
The first one was a little more unique for me, the first part of it. But overall, like, this was an okay arc, and I would like to see some more arcs in this story. And when I say that, I mean like more than one episode stories.
Yeah.
So like it's something that continues and like Clone Wars did a lot of them, especially in the later seasons. Like you would get like 4-episode arcs sometimes.
Yeah.
And they were always like the better stuff. Normally there were a couple that were.
There's a couple of the. I'm not even gonna say it because I think you already know what
everyone
I
knows.
say.
Everyone knows what you're thinking.
It just makes me angry. I don't want to talk about it.
But I think that's all I have to say about it. So.
Yeah. So I think as we come to our conclusion today, we have 4 episodes left, right, including episode 13 that's coming up, because I believe it's 16 episodes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it'd be 13, 14, 15, 16. So 4 episodes. So it could be a 2 and 2 little arc there.
Oh yeah. So I talked about that wrong earlier. When I was talking about.
I know why. I thought I'm like, oh wait, is it 15 episodes? Anyway, you know what we're talking about, folks. Come on now, we're just human. Anyway, long story short, we have 4 episodes. It could be a 2 and 2 arc. It could be one kind of throwaway or a conclusion to this one on episode 13. Then 14, 15, 16 is the final arc. Who knows? Our final hopes is that they really come back again as they did with season 7 of Clone Wars, and as they kind of did with Mandalorian season 2 as well, that they really come back and they really draw us in and come to a good final conclusion, and we can finally look back and say, okay, here's all these loose ends that they tie up, and it was actually a halfway decent series. So it's gonna be for us gonna be kind of hard for this one, but hey, I have faith in them to tie it up well. So without further ado, we're going to come to our closing today. Again, so thankful for all of you guys and gals out there who are listening to us, participating in our Q&As, just ingesting all of our content. Honestly, it means the world to us, and we're so thankful. Thank you for your continued support to the podcast and to our brand in general, now that we're kind of doing more things. But we absolutely look forward to hearing from you. We hope that you reach out to us. You like our videos, like our podcasts, listen, communicate. We want to hear from you. Absolutely. We would ask that you would like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, now YouTube, especially since we're getting our stuff out there. In Instagram, we're going to have news and polls, discussions, memes, and all the stuff that we have out there. And now that we're kind of starting this new phase, we're definitely going to try to get some more content out there. But last but not least, we just want to ask you to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave us a good review. That actually does help us quite a bit with getting, some of our, not sponsorships, but our deals with like Disney and the books and all that good stuff. And we're still coming for you, Del Rey.
We're still coming for you, Del Rey. We haven't forgot about you. You're not getting away from us, boy.
Anyway. So we thank you for listening, and we ask that you would join us next week for episode 62. But last but not least, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Turn.
We would be honored if you would join us.